Hello, I'm Zippy Duvall, President of American Farm Bureau and host for the Farmside Chat, and I welcome you back to our podcast. You know, I enjoy traveling the country, seeing the best side of our country. I get to go out on the farms and talk to the people that are salt of the earth, that are working hard each and every day to grow the food and fiber, to fill our pantries and build our homes and make our lives so much enjoyable by what they produce. We are in the process of releasing our new book from our foundation. We print accurate ag books so that our children can understand exactly where their food comes from and how it might be grown, and the men and women that grow it. And this new book will be about potatoes. It's called Potatoes for Pirate Pearl. And I'm going to have a guest today who grows potatoes. He comes from the great state of Idaho. Of course, we all know about Idaho potatoes. It's not the only place in the country that we grow potatoes, but it is the number one crop in that state. That farmer's name is Klaren Koompin, and we're really proud to have him with us. So, Klaren, tell us a little bit about your farm and about the potato.
President Duvall, Idaho raises 25% of all potatoes in the U.S., 33% of the fall potatoes. So there's a fall, a winter, kind of a spring and a summer crop, actually, depending on where they're being raised at. And we have varieties now that will perform in almost every state in the union. But American Falls, Idaho has an ideal climate for potatoes. It's the number one crop by far in the state of Idaho. So we have the warm days and the cool nights, and you need that for a potato because during that cool down at night, that's when we translocate the sugars that photosynthesis develop as it moves down through the plant into starches into the daughter tubers. But American Falls is located right along the Snake River in eastern Idaho, about 25 miles east or west of Pocatello, right on I-15 as you're going toward Boise. But the whole Snake River Crescent raises potatoes, but the bulk of them is raised in eastern Idaho.
So Idaho is shaped like a boot, so you're out kind of toward the toe of it, or
the toe? What was that again?
Yeah, so it's the state is shaped kind of like a boot.
Yes, yeah.
So you're out towards the toe.
Yeah, we're about 120 miles from the Wyoming border.
Okay.
We're about 120 miles from the Montana border. We're about 120 miles from the Utah border. So we're nestled right there. That's eastern Idaho. We're at about 4,400 feet, so fairly high. And that gives us the warm days and the cool nights. And we have an extremely prolific soil profile for potatoes. It's a lighter soil. It's not real heavy, some sand. And we also have a prolific surface water and deep well water aquifer. And, of course, the surface water off the Rocky Mountains. Wyoming, Montana, everything flows down into the Snake. So the good Lord put everything here that we needed to raise a good crop of potatoes.
So let's talk about the potato and the process of growing them. When you plant them, how long does it take for them to mature? And once you harvest them, where do they go? They go in storage or go straight to the French fry plant?
Well, we typically will start doing our seed operation in end of March. So we're going to haul seed. We raise our own seed for about 2/3 of our potatoes. Also, we have a seed farm located up a valley from here. But we haul that seed, we bring it in, and we cut it. And so a 6-ounce potato winds up into 2 pieces. A 4-ounce potato we probably leave whole, but we shoot for a 3-ounce, 2 3/4 to 3-ounce seed piece. And so if you have an 8-ounce potato, we'll cut him in 3s. Our cutters are very high technical. We also have, 6, 7 people there sizing them as well, and then they're treated. And those early potatoes that we cut, we set back down, dry them down, and do what we call suberization. That heals them up. Come about the 15th to the 20th of April, we start planting. We plant them 6 inches deep. They're up out of the ground if Mother Nature plays well with us and treats us good. They'll be out of the ground in, 3 weeks, 21 days, typically what we figure. And then from that point, it's just, you're feeding that potato and he's growing like a devil. A potato come high foliage time, which is, probably mid to end July. They have more, green leaf area than any crop we have in North America, including corn, if you can imagine that.
Wow.
And, of course, they're harvested in the sunlight like no tomorrow. And translocating those sugars they're generating during the day down into the daughter tubers. It's an amazing process. And typically the earlier varieties that we have here are 90 days. Now they're working on getting some even earlier. The Russet Burbank, which made Idaho famous and still the #1 variety, it takes about 120 days. So somewhere between planting in April, 1st of May to middle of September to October, that's the time frame that potato needs to make us a crop. Typically, an average plant will generate 4 to 5 pounds of potatoes of various sizes. Some's going to be 15 ounce, some will be 2 or 4 ounces. So it's the industry uses them all, including the fresh industry. So we have four industries here in Idaho that use potatoes. The fryers being the biggest. So you would have your companies, Lamb Weston, Simplot, and Kane. Those are the big 3. And then you have the fresh market, which is huge for Idaho also, where we go into the grocery store as well as the restaurant trade. And then you have the dehy market, which is very big. Idaho produces about 85% of what we call the dehy market. That's where they make flakes and pearls. So that's instant potatoes and instant hash browns. And that market is growing also. We also do a lot of export. And then we also have what we call the chip market. So you raise a specific variety of chip for the chip companies. So that'd be Frito-Lay, Utz, Hers. All of them are located close or by Idaho. So and the Northwest. So those are that's kind of a quick overview of a potato from getting cut up into a seed, superized, and then harvested.
That potato, once you cut it and put it in the ground, it sprouts out of the eye of the potato. Yep.
You have to have an eye on that seed piece in order for that potato to sprout. And from that eye, you may get 1 sprout or you may get 3 or 4. We call it apical dominance. And the Burbank doesn't have real strong apical dominance, so it'll give you a multitude of stems out of one eye, where some of the chip potatoes and some of the new variety of fried potatoes, like the Clearwater, is real strong apical dominance. So you'll only get 1 or 2 stems out of it. And the stem number kind of relates to how many daughter tubers that plant produces. The more stem numbers, the more daughter tubers. But that's not always a good thing, because if you have too many stem numbers and you get too many tubers, then all the potatoes are small.
Yeah.
But if you have 2 or 3 stems, you're going to get the right amount of potatoes, 9, 10, and you're going to get the nice sized ones.
Yeah, so I'm surprised that you plant them 6 inches deep. I didn't realize you planted them that deep.
Yeah, we go anywhere, minimum of 5 up to 6. That potato, they'll set a little deeper, so you get less greening. If you plant them too shallow, you do have more greening, meaning that daughter tuber kind of grows out on the side of the hill. and you'll get more greening. And of course, them were all thrown away. Those are unusable.
So when I was there several years ago and toured Idaho, we went to a plant where they bagged the potatoes for Five Guys. And I don't remember what town it was in, but it was pretty amazing.
You was in Sugar City. I'm guessing at the Crapo shed, and you're right. We did raise potatoes for Five Guys. RMP Produce, Rick Miles Produce furnishes Five Guys with 100% of their potatoes, and it's a great. That would be for a fresh potato, and or for a fresh cut French fry, which Five Guys is well known for. Yeah. And they've won a lot of awards for that. But yeah, very, very good, very good people are working with.
So potatoes, I'm sure they're graded. So where your highest grade potato, where does it go? And your lowest grade potato, where does it go?
Well, the low grade potatoes, typically, when we haul a typical load of potatoes into Lamb Weston, the plant here in American Falls, it's inspected by the USDA and it's sized. And anything that they can't make a number one French fry out of, the quality French fry, goes into a pack that typically goes to the D-high market. And they'll either take it to D-high. The plant here actually keeps them all internal now because they also do D-high as well as hash brown. So it just goes into the lesser price cuts, hash browns, dehydrated potatoes, stuff like that. The French fry market is real specific on length and fry color and texture and color, and so they have to be of a certain quality that go into that. It's a lot more stringent than the D-high market.
So the quality of the potato, is it more determined by the conditions it's grown in, or more determined by the variety?
Oh, the new varieties turn out a higher quality potato, less bumps, less defects. That's one of the problems with the Russet Burbank, is it's very hard to grow. The Burbank only does well basically in the state of Idaho. There's always been a big push for coming up with a better variety. The problem that I've always run into is they'll get a variety that will be better in one area, but not in the other. So that's why the Burbank's still around, because it's kind of good in all the areas. It's not the best in any one of them, but the varieties we're leaning toward, of course, higher yields, higher quality, less throwaway, and we're slowly getting there. We've got some new varieties that we raise that are better than the Burbank overall so far. But they're brand new varieties, and I almost guarantee you we will find out where they're not going to work so well. Mother Nature will throw something out.
So those new varieties, are you growing them on the research plots? And tell us a little bit about the research plot.
Yeah, we typically when they come to us, our research plot will be 20, 30 acres as we compare it with another variety with like the Burbank right next to it, and those varieties they're trying to come up in this area now with an earlier variety, meaning that after emergence. We want to be able to harvest it in 60 or 70 days so they can get the plant up and running on the new potato. Right now, it's about 90 days, so they got to wait till about the 15th of August. The Burbank takes till September 15th to get the size and growth we need in order to make it work. So those research plots, of course, we're right next to Aberdeen, Idaho, which is a major potato research facility in the United States. And so that's where they do a tremendous amount of breeding. And that's where these varieties have all come from. And the 3 states, Idaho, Oregon, and Washington, have a breeding agreement that they're all funding also. But we do have a lot of research also on fungicide, herbicide. We do a lot of that. Every year we have plots on the farm for certain varieties. Every variety reacts a little different to a herbicide application, and so they're fine-tuning that all the time.
Well, I live down here in Georgia where they grow a lot of peanuts, and I know that they have to rotate them a lot because they're grown in the ground. Do you have to rotate where you plant your potatoes?
Definitely. The potato is a very high nutritious crop, meaning it takes phosphate, nitrogen, and potassium. We supplement that. If you grow potatoes back to back, you're going to get a disease buildup, and that is going to start hurting your quality and your yield. And so we're on a 3 to 4 year rotation. We have fields that are on 3-year rotations, so we're constantly rotating with wheat, corn. There's the sugar beets. We're very big in sugar beets in this area. We don't, but our neighbors do. And the mustards, the canolas, a lot of malt barley is raised here. Idaho obviously is very well known for its barley production. And so all those crops are raised for 2 to 3 years in between potato crops. And that's very critical, very critical.
So when you're rotating, you're going every 3rd year, do you swap out with your neighbors that grow other crops? Where they might grow on your land another crop while you're growing potatoes on theirs?
Yeah, you're very astute. Yes. Well, we have the bulk of our potatoes are raised on our ground, and we also rent though about 20-30% of what we farm. And we actually do trade. We have a neighbor. He doesn't raise potatoes, but he raises sugar beets. So he puts sugar beets on our farm, and we put potatoes on his farm. That's actually now a 4-year rotation.
Okay.
But it works very well. And yes, we work with the neighbors constantly on rotation and trading ground back and forth.
Well, and if I remember right, too, USDA plays a big role in helping you fight diseases, too. Is that correct?
Yes, huge. They're funding research and disease varieties. The National Potato Council and the U.S. Potatoes USA. We are always in Washington to make sure that funding stays where it needs to be in order to come up with new varieties and any new tool we can come up with on the herbicide, fungicide, and health. The biologicals are becoming very big now. So yes, that is all funded by the USDA. A lot of it. The state funds quite a bit too, the Idaho Potato Commission. And we have a 12.5-cent checkoff on every sack we sell, each individual grower. That goes to the state of Idaho. And 3 cents goes to Potatoes USA. And then there's a set fee each year that we write to the National Potato Council. So every farmer that raises potatoes in Idaho pays that check off, and it's basically the farmer pays 7, and the first handler pays 5.5. So you could. I always said I could make an argument. I don't think the handler's paying it. He's just charging me, and it's going through him. But which raises a substantial amount of money because we're going to raise 120 million sacks or so. I mean, it's a $12 to $15 million program, Idaho.
Which is money well spent to make sure you do that research work because it's so important. Talk to us a little bit about the nutritional value of potatoes. You know, a lot of times you go on some of these diets and say don't eat anything white, don't eat anything fried. And talk to us about nutritional value of potatoes. I love them myself.
That potato has, so 6-ounce potato has more potassium than a banana. Of course, it's very high in vitamin C, very high in fiber, pretty good protein. But that was a hard thing for him to eat enough potatoes in order to get enough protein. And it's very high in resistant starches. They're finding out now that for diabetics, a 6-ounce potato at night is one of the better things that a diabetic can eat. I've had several people that are severe diabetics tell me that's when they feel the best. They'll eat a potato at night. That resistant starch and fiber, but the resistant starch part of the potato doesn't break down. It doesn't turn into glucose and give you that sugar, that real sugar shock that is hard on diabetics. It's a slow breakdown in the gut. And it's very good for gut health. So, you know, it kept the Irish alive for a couple of years there during the famine. It's an amazing vegetable.
Well, I remember growing up when we didn't have a whole lot. We ate a lot of potatoes, beans, and cornbread.
Yeah, we've always had, and you was probably as healthy as you've ever been.
Oh yeah, that's right, and enjoyed it too. As a matter of fact, I still eat them every once in a while.
That's super. But
so I know when you came to your farm, potatoes wasn't your main farming operation. Give us a little history of your farm.
Yeah, well, real quick, Zippy. We started in Grandview, about 40 miles up the river from here. Dad and Mom. Potatoes were always part of the farm that I could remember growing up. And then, unfortunately, Dad passed away at a very early age. He was only 44 in 1964. And we had just bought this farm. We'd been here 5 years. And but Mom was able to hold on to it. We were raising spuds all during that time. And then Ken and I actually farmed with a hired man and Mom, and we ran the farm 2 years after Dad died. But we were in high school still. It was very difficult. And so Mom rented the farm out to a good neighbor, and he started raising potatoes here along with his other farms. Ken and I finished high school and went on to college. And you're right. When we came back, we did not raise potatoes. We had been around them growing up our whole life, but we went to school and we both got a degree in animal science. We started raising hogs. We put in a confinement hog, farrow to finish, and never lost any money. It was, but it's hogs, as you know, is a volume proposition, and we built new facilities. Real modern, pretty self-contained, and but the government lets you depreciate hog facilities in 5 years, and there's a reason, because at 7 they're totally wore out. But so at that at that point we had to decide: are we going to get big enough in hogs to make this work, or are we going to maybe switch over and go into more farming? And so at that point, we got back into potatoes. We started with 60 acres. This was back in 1983. So I guess that's 40 years ago. We're on our 40th crop. And we just kind of we worked with the neighbors, shared machinery for 2 years. And then we kind of switched. And as those neighbors were kind of changing their operation, we went and actually formed a partnership with another family, and started buying some seed cutting equipment. And we kind of went from 60 to 120 to 240 to 450 to 700 to 900 to 1,200 until we actually peaked at 3,000 acres, 3,200, but we've since come back to around 2,500 acres. We turned loose in some ground that wasn't performing like we wanted. But so we raise about 2,500 acres of potatoes now. of which a couple hundred are seed potatoes.
So you're in partnership with your brother. You've been doing that since college?
Yes, we came back in 74, formed a partnership, just a general partnership, and so far still together, which is amazing.
Yeah, sometimes that's not the easiest thing to do is to farm with your brother. So
no, it's
my hat's off to you. You must be two wonderful men.
Well, it's one of those things, Zippy, where if you both have the same goal, now there's several ways to get to that goal, and Lord knows we've had our arguments on how to get to that goal, but typically the best path wins. And we've always had the same goal, and that was to be successful at farming, successful at growing the farm. And we pretty much did whatever we needed to do to make that work. And it's like a marriage. Our wives got along, which is, probably 55, 60% of the equation.
Right.
But we've been very fortunate. Now the children, we have two. Kenny, my brother Kenneth, has two children. They're all part of the farm. We also have an excavation business on the side. And my one boy does about half of that, 2/3, and the other third on the farm. But yeah, we've been very fortunate, very blessed to be able to hold it together. I will tell you that the whole we've put together is worth way more than if we split it up and went into parts.
Well, that's a wonderful family story, and love to hear those kind of stories. I'm going to pick at you a little bit now. I have a friend named Brian Searle who's president of the Idaho Farm Bureau, and he talks about potatoes in one sentence and spuds in the next. When does a potato, and when is it a spud?
It's like, is corn a vegetable or is it a grain? A spud, I think it turns into potato anytime you can eat it. So I'm just going to say anytime it's bigger than 1.5 inches.
Well, at least you got an answer.
I know Brian. He's a very good man.
He is a good man. Thank you so much for sharing your farm with us and the information about the great vegetable that we know as a potato. And a lot of us eat them every day, and we probably take them for granted. We should not do that. We should never take our food source for granted because it takes a lot of dedicated, hardworking men and women like you and our wives, and we appreciate what you do. You got anything else you'd like to share with our audience?
Oh, it's just that we've been very blessed with being able to stay in this industry as long as we have and raise all the crops we do. You're very, very fortunate. When we first got started, I went to a seminar, and a guy by the name of Hiram Drake, who was an economist out of Minnesota. If you ever get a chance to read his books, you want to. But we're sitting in the seminar, and he says, no matter what you do, don't ever sacrifice your family for the farm. And we've been fortunate enough to always make enough to make ends meet, and you just keep plowing along. So we're very fortunate to do what we do. We appreciate the Farm Bureau. We really appreciate, I know all the time that it takes for you to do what you need to do to make this work and make your farm work. So we're just real happy to be part of a tremendous industry in the state of Idaho and the United States that makes everything as good as it is for everybody that we're able to meet.
Klaren Koompin, we appreciate you joining us today. You're a great example of the American farmer and why our country is so strong. So my hat's off to you. Thank you, sir, so much. And I look forward to next time I come to Idaho, which is one of my favorite places that I've learned to love. Hope I get to see you and your family when I come there.
Well, when you get out here, you come over and we'll have a cool one out on the patio overlooking the Snake River. How's that?
That sounds good to me. And we are getting ready to release one of our books that our foundation writes. We do books for children, and it's going to be called Potatoes for Pirate Pearl. And I think this podcast was very appropriate for the release of that book, and we hope that children and families across America enjoy that book and learn something about the great vegetable, the potato that's grown in a lot of places, but especially in the great state of Idaho. So thank you so much.
That is amazing. We're very happy and honored that you was able to talk with you and Farm Bureau. And that book sounds fun. I'll be looking forward to reading it.
Well, this is Zippy Duvall, President of American Farm Bureau, and host of the Farmside Chat, talking to you from Washington, D.C., but a great farmer over in Idaho. And we hope that you have a wonderful day, and God bless you. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Farmside Chat. Please be sure to subscribe so that you never miss an episode. And while you're at it, take a minute to rate and review the podcast. This helps us continue to bring you farm fresh content that everyone can enjoy. Until next time, thank you and God bless you.